Okay, let's talk about what we're going to be doing in the Dollar Club. And you can see here I've got 4 dolls. And these are first prototype, second prototype, third prototype, fourth prototype. And I didn't realize that when I was putting this all together in my mind that I was going to be teaching you much more about my process, how I go about creating a pattern or altering a pattern. But let's take a look at what's going to go on, because there's there's a lot going between this and this, and you can see they're basically the same pattern, but I've altered the pattern a bit. Now I modeled this after. Let me pull this out. This is Monster Patterns Revamp Videos Updates. What am I going to do? I modeled this after a pattern that I had already created many years ago. Put that over there. The beady monster pattern. Now, I'd gone to the library and I printed out some copies, and I kind of liked how small these were, because originally these are supposed to be on, and if you downloaded these, because I know that this pattern is up for free for any of my patrons. When you download this, you can print it out at 11 by 17, or what is it they call it? Something paginate, something or other. You can print it out on smaller pieces of paper and then tape it together. But this is the pattern piece. I didn't print out any of the instructions or anything because, I make these. So you can see, especially with this first version, that it's very much like the pattern. But I decided to change some things around. The first big thing is I decided to use safety eyes, because I think that they have a nice, I like that they have a nice kind of a gloss to them. So I made this one, and I made it almost exactly like I made the larger ones. And you can see I've stuffed her pretty solid. And I didn't like that, because for me personally, what I was going for with changing around and altering the pattern, I didn't like this. You can see the stuffing is only allows for this kind of movement, and then it won't sit up, which I don't like. I stuffed these way too solid. The only thing I really did like about this is my new stitching method and construction method worked out really well. So I don't consider this a failure. I will be going back at some point and taking her apart and altering her a little bit so she does what I want her to do. So I was thinking about how I was going to alter. So then I decided to go ahead and do a second one. And instead of using stuffing, you hear that? I used little pellets, plastic pellets, and I like the feeling of them. I liked how this one turned out. I used a slightly larger or lighter thread here, and I really liked that. But there were some things I was like, maybe I want to change this around a little more. So I had some ideas for some ears that I wanted to add. And maybe changing around the eyes a little bit, changing around where I put the eyes. So, and I also, I don't like the arm coming out. I wanted it to hang down a little bit more. So we go on to number 3 prototype. Here is number 3 prototype. And even though I love number 3, she is an absolute mess. Her ears kind of, sort of turned out the way I wanted. I got the right size. However, prior to this, I had made really teeny ears, and I didn't like those at all. So I've pulled those, and I'll just use them someplace else. But you can see here, wow, her arms are really in the wrong place. I love how her face turned out. I used a thread that was the same color or as close as possible to the felt, because I wanted to see if that would work. And I made longer arms and legs. And the proportions are all off, just not as I would like them. And then I realized that the foot is beginning to cause me some problems with the beads, the little plastic pellets, because they will slide back and forth a bit. The felt does a good job of holding them in place, but she's got some problems. She's going to be fixed. Or altered. I shouldn't say fixed, altered, so that her arms are in the right place and they're the right length. I also did this little experiment here where I added some stuffing in on top of the beads in an effort to keep the beads in place so they didn't slide back and forth so much. And it kind of works, but I'm not really happy with it. So at the conclusion of this piece, I was like, okay, I need to make a fourth prototype. And this is one of the things I want you to realize is when I am going through and making something new, completely new, 4 prototypes, maybe even more. 3 is usually my number, but this is just a revamp of a pattern I've already created. And I'm already up to the 3rd prototype for a change. So it takes a lot more work than you think for even a really simple doll. I mean, this is super duper simple. This is basically a bag and everything is tucked inside, stitched down, and you flip it and you sew up the backside. This is pretty simple. I love her. I absolutely adore her, but I'm still going to do some alterations so that she is more what I would like. I really feel bad saying that to her, but I want her to reach her full potential. Anyway, this brings us to the 4th prototype. Now, you can see with the 4th prototype, I changed some things around. I moved the ears. I made the ears attachable at the back, which is a really super easy thing to do with felt, which I know that all of my followers, will be able to do. And I went back to the original length of the arms here. I did away with the stuffing. So I kind of like the crunchy in there. And I also altered the feet, which I felt were a little bit more conducive to the pellets. This style of foot, this shape is something that stylistically I've used a lot. It stems from early childhood toys that I had. Think even this foot here. Think Dressy Bessie from the 1970s. The sugar something, apple dumpling. Oh God, what the I've got an example. Let me grab her. It's this foot springs from this doll in particular and her compatriot dolls. And you can see it's a very simple foot. I want to say the Sugar Hill Gang, but that's not who this is. It's the Sugar Hill, I forget what it was. But this was a doll. This is not the doll that I had in the 70s. This is one that I found online that was in pretty decent condition. And she sits up on my doll shelf. Maybe it says here, let's look at her little butt tag, because I didn't trim her butt tag off. What's her little butt tag off? I know she's Mattel. Made, okay. Ooh, she's made in Taiwan. But this is the doll leg that has inspired a lot of my own toys. I shouldn't say toys, dolls. They are toys. Anyway, so you can see there's certain things that I kept, certain things that I moved around. I made the eyes a little bigger to give them kind of a cuter kind of look. I made a little kind of face, and the ears. So I have this, there's something about that sound with the little beanbags. I'm not figuring out where that's from, or maybe I am. I think I know where it's from in my past. Anyway, there's something kind of satisfying to it. And this particular doll does not sit as well as the first one, because they both flop down. I would have to add a tremendous amount of weight at the bottom of them. But sitting in front of something, they work pretty well. So this is what we're going to do. Wow, and this one's a lot heavier than this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to start talking about, that's a little further, I want to get off and I can't quite get it, start talking about how I altered the pattern to get from this pattern to her. And I'm calling her. I don't know why. This is a him. This is a him. This is a her. Him, her. Him, her. Him, her. Anyway, yes, I do play with dolls. So in the next video, I'm going to show you what you're going to need to start this project, which also includes altered pattern pieces that I'm going to need to upload. So stay tuned, and I'll have another video up in just a little bit.